Heavy is the head that wears the crown. That's what I was taught. I believe in failures. I think fail fast, fail often. If you're not failing, you're not trying. Yeah, I've had a lot of big failures. Um, One of my biggest failures happened 7 years ago, and it was pretty devastating for me. At the time, it was a $20 million opportunity that would probably have netted me. It was a big opportunity. I started second guessing myself, and I got stuck. Fear was setting in. Later that day, he signed with somebody else. He signed with somebody else, and this was after 2 months of preparation, all money in, and now I'm stuck with all this equipment, and I don't know what I'm going to do. My wife was in business. I had to tell her that, hey, I messed up here. That taught me so much going through that and recovering from that. I know I was doubting myself during that time, which we all do. And now if I have a deal, I am closing that. If I'm in there, I'm not leaving that room without that deal done. That's what failure is about. Failures create opportunities. I'm a huge believer in that. I encourage people, get uncomfortable, get in a bigger room. If it doesn't work out that time, now you know what it's like to be in that $20 million room. You have to prove it to yourself that you want it, and only you can decide that. No one else is going to hold your hand.
Welcome to The Shift, where we talk about leadership and business transformation based on real stories with real failures, real wins, and valuable insights from those journeys. And today we have Jeff Kaulbars on the show. Jeff has been 30 years in business. He has a proven track record of building leaders, and many team members that he's coached now run multi 6, 7, and even 8-figure companies. Now, over the last 8 months, Jeff has been speaking and training across the US, helping entrepreneurs and leaders on setting effective goals. And I am super excited to hear about his biggest ups and downs and what he has learned from them. Welcome to the show.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, Jeff, tell me what's the first thing I should ask you that's the most exciting thing I should learn about you?
Oh, well, I just opened up my consulting agency September 15th. And so it's been a little bit more than a month. And I've been really trying to narrow down my focus because I'm a big believer in niche. And it finally came to me. And now my focus is on Latino business owners.
How did you come about? I'm curious to hear kind of what led you there, because when I hear you have 30 years of experience and like helping businesses doing 6, 7, 8-figure businesses, right? You would think, what's more to learn? You figured it all out. So now you landed this.
Well, what's crazy is I don't even speak Spanish. And how did I get here is for the past 30 years, 95% of my workforce has been Latino. And I've watched their struggles that they have. A lot of them have a challenge. Like one of my first employees, maybe my third employee, he came from Guatemala and he didn't know any English, but he was a weed eater, just a labor guy. And in 10 years, about a decade, he worked with me. In 10 years, he was running over 100 of my guys. And then one day he comes to me, he's like, Jeff, I want to start my own business. It broke my heart because I just poured my life into this guy. But I was excited for him. I'm not a scarcity mentality guy. And he started his own business. And I'm happy to say that he's now doing $15 million a year.
Wow.
And he's a solid pillar in the community. He's very involved with his church. And those success stories, so many of my guys over the years have gone on to start their own businesses. And we've just stayed in touch. I've helped them along the way. And that's where this passion comes from. I just feel like, there's over 5 million Latino businesses in the US. And this is an amazing fact. 82% of new businesses right now that are getting started are Latino-based owners.
That's fascinating.
And they contribute almost $1 trillion to the economy. All these 5 million businesses. And I think it's an overlooked space for whatever reason. But what I found with the Latino culture is their job performance. Like I'm focused on the home service, like roofer, HVAC, things like that. What's amazing about them is they do such quality work, but what they're lacking is that business knowledge. And so I'm peeling back the curtain for them and showing them some tips and tricks that I showed my other guys. And I'm just really passionate. I don't know. I've been doing it for 30 years for no charge. So maybe it's about time that I start charging for it.
Of course, yeah, especially if you deliver value. How do you spot a great leader?
Ooh, I think that probably initially it's by your eyes. I think initially you see how they carry themselves. I think that's what I've noticed in doing some testimonials. It's funny you asked that. One of my guys, Richard, he started working with me and he said, you know what? Within the first week or two, Jeff came up to me and he said, you know what? I want you to level up. I think that you can move to another level and become a manager one day. And he's like, I don't know how he saw it. And I think you just see it. You just see it. And then you want to investigate a little further, have a conversation. What motivates them? They need to be self motivated, is a huge part of it, I think, to be a leader.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was looking for. Not the exact answer, but like there's certain markers, right? What are the markers that you look for? You see it, but what do you see, right?
Yes.
Well,
Self discipline. I mean, do they do what they say they're going to do? Oh, and the discipline, like this guy would show up 30 minutes early every day.
if you are a leader, you understand that you set the tone. Everything flows from you. If you come late, you set the tone for everybody else being okay being late. Sometimes leaders will complain like, "Oh, my team, my organization, they're doing this and that." I go, "Well, who set the tone? Did you set the tone that way?"
I do a Bigs call, which is a webinar every Monday, and you say that makes me think of yesterday. Someone was like, they wanted a team. They're like, man, if I had a team, I could accomplish stuff. And I told her kind of what you said is like, if you can't manage yourself, you cannot manage a team, and it will be worse chaos than you have right now.
That's right. Yeah, because the chaos, exactly, it trickles down. Then everybody follows the same chaos, and you go like, "Why are we all crazy?"
That's a good point. You're right. It trickles down. Leadership trickles down. So I'm a firm believer when I talk to my guys is your expectation for yourself has to be so high because then it gets lower. And by the time it gets to the last guy or the last team member, it's gone down levels to get there. So you have to have high expectations on yourself.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of people that are motivational speakers that share how they build their businesses. And I'm not a big rah rah person. Like I'm not going along with it, but I do when I listen to these guys when they say what their routines are, what are the routines of these highly successful people? And you think, oh, they're just making this up. This sounds crazy. It's not crazy. They do anything that helps them to show up with intention, to show up being fully prepared. And if that means that they run, 20 miles, from at 5 o'clock, because that's what gets them to be fully present, then that's what they do. Or they take an ice bath after they give a big speech, and that's what they do. How do you make sure that you show up your best self and that you're fully present? And for me, like it's interesting to talk about discipline. I was talking to a leader last week who asked me, why I picked the harder journey. And I'm such a sucker for discipline. I believe discipline is the greatest thing that a leader can invest in, self-discipline. So it's building discipline, it's building resilience. And I feel like resilience is a big part of being a good leader.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And I have a friend of mine that told me one time, he's like, Jeff, your face looks like you learned everything the hard way. But I look at it as a compliment in the way that, that means I've learned, right? And I've learned from my failures. I believe in failures. I think fail fast, fail often. If you're not failing, you're not trying.
Because people want to play it safe.
Yes.
But then I'm so curious. What's the biggest thing you've tried? Meaning, what's the biggest thing you failed, perhaps?
Ooh. I like to tell this story. I've had a lot of big failures. Um, One of my biggest failures happened 7 years ago, and it was pretty devastating for me because I had this opportunity. And for me at the time, it was a $20 million opportunity that would probably have netted me, close to 100 million in the next 5 or 8 years. It was a big opportunity. And so, but it was going to require me to go all in. We had to buy these machines. They're called grinders, and they're $1 million each. We bought two of them. And we bought all the supporting equipment. We trained our guys. We did everything right. We actually even, because this is in the disaster business, so where we're taking trees and we're talking just hundreds of thousands of yards of debris. So I was all prepped. We did a golf course for the decision maker at cost. We actually lost money at it and came down to the final time to make the deal done. And I'm in his office, and that space was I started second guessing myself, and I got stuck. Fear was setting in, and he looked at me. The office was crazy. He was calling like some high end guys, just screaming at them. They were just, I'm thinking, man, what am I doing in this room here? And I just invested all this money and time. And then he turns to me and says, Jeff, come back tomorrow. I can't make this deal today. So I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to gather myself and come back tomorrow. Well, that later that day, he signed with somebody else. He signed with somebody else. And this was after 2 months of preparation, all money in. And now I'm stuck with all this equipment, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And it was just, I needed that job. This space that I was in, it's like you need that first job, and you've got to get one of those jobs in 3 years or you're done. And I just, it was a big failure. But at the same time, what I learned is opportunities are like a window, and that window can close at any time. And you got to be a shark like in bloody water. And now if I have a deal, I am closing that. If I'm in there, I am not leaving that room without that deal done. Right. If you've done all the things leading up to that. And then the fact of it took me months, maybe years to recover from realizing that I made that mistake. I had to go back. My wife was in business. I had to tell her that, hey, I messed up here. But, now 7 years later, I have some of the biggest opportunities I've had in my life. And that taught me so much going through that and recovering from that. So that was probably one of my biggest ones that I would say, because I feel like that was almost 100% my fault, right? Sometimes there's some things you can't control. I think that I could have stayed in the room and got that deal done.
I'm listening to you when you said, I think the key moment was when you said, I started doubting myself. And that probably ran the whole show.
Yes. And you know what? I know I was doubting myself during that time, which we all do when we're doing a new venture. But here's one thing that I like to share with people about learning from this is that put me in a $20 million room, which was like it potentially was $100 million room. But at that moment, it was a $20 million room. I'd never been in a $20 million room before with a deal like that. So that's why I encourage people, get uncomfortable, get in a bigger room. If it's a $50,000 deal, $30,000 deal, don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of it. If it doesn't work out that time, now you know what it's like to be in that $20 million room,
Yeah, it's just
right?
bigger numbers. And of course, it's a different language being spoken, being different needs being addressed at a different level. You have to think differently.
But that's what failure is about. You learn. I mean, I'm a big believer. I don't want to be the same person I was yesterday. And that sounds like what you do too. It's like I push every day to be better than I was yesterday because it makes you better, which then I'm a huge server. Like one of my missions is like learning to serve, serving to learn. And I feel that the better you are as a person, it just elevates everybody around you, your family, your friends. So, and I think failures do that for you.
True. That's very true. Now, so you're working now, this new venture that you started, working with a lot of Latino businesses, right? And so this is an economy that's kind of tricky. Like I'm observing, what are people excited about and what are they afraid of? It almost feels like Y2K. Like, internet is
Hmm.
coming is it a bubble or is it not a bubble? It has as much excitement as it has scare factors. People go like, oh, we no longer exist. Like all our jobs are taken away. And then on the other hand, it's like, I can do things I would have thought were impossible as a solopreneur, like if you start a business, right? Or, things that like where AI, for example, is augmenting the work you normally do. What would you say to somebody starting a business right now? How do you see the world?
I think it's a great time to start a business personally because, we have some things out there, like you mentioned, AI, right? That's changing everything. But you also have crypto. So that could even be considered like a bubble. So we have bubbles. I mean, even I've noticed more people are talking about this AI bubble. Like, is it really going to be able to produce the things that they're promising? And it seems to be that in most things, everybody over promises and under delivers. So to me, I think AI is probably going to have some of that coming down the pipe. I think home services, I think is a huge opportunity. I think there's going to be a lot of new millionaires that are going to be coming out of service because AI, what it's going to do for them if they jump on board is help the back end. Everybody's focused on AI is going to help the front end. Okay, yeah, maybe it will to some degree over time, but it's going to be hard to replace a guy that's plumbing, to have a robot do plumbing. It's a complex thing. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for home services or any service, even coaching. I think that people want connection. I think there's huge opportunities. And if you look back on any bubble or anything, the people that looked for change and looked for the opportunities, there was always opportunities. It's just trying to look for them and not be discouraged. Like, well, I lost my job to AI. Okay, but maybe you have it. That's again, it's a failure. Failures create opportunities. I'm a huge believer in that.
True. Then what kind of talent? So when you work with so many businesses and you've created large businesses, you own multiple ones too. For those who lead, like, how do they make themselves attractive working with any employer?
That's a great question. I think that you have to be a problem solver, right? I think that's a crucial. If too many people go to work and then they just kind of accept the tasks that are given to them or try to do this. But what if you try to solve some real underlying problems that you see in an effective, proactive way? Instead of like my favorite book is The Seven Habits. And he talks about the one guy in the room, he was the gopher guy. The CEO would be like, go for this, go do this, go do this. Well, you know what? That guy, over time, he got so much influence that the CEO was not making a move without asking for his opinion. So how do you do that? You become proactive. You look for ways to solve problems for the guy you're a support to the leader. And if you're able to solve some underlying problems for him, where do you think he's going to go for advice? Where is he going to turn to for help? And that sets you apart from everybody else.
Jeff, what I'm hearing also is I'm a couple of years ago, I just got so hung up on humility, hung up on what I mean by that is like I've made some observations and I thought, you know what, humility is the most attractive thing. It's also the thing that propels you the most. So people think humility is like self-deprecation. It's not. But when you reach low, it's actually when you make it high. Like humility is attractive. It really is. Because anybody that self-elevates, like, people just want to tear that person down, right? And and also, like, if you talk so highly of yourself and think so highly of yourself, there's also a cap on learning. Whereas humility opens up this. So I just got so attracted to it. I'm like, how can I be more humble in certain areas?
Oh, you got me all excited because one of my mentors is Eli Wild. I don't know if you know him. He is amazing. I spent 3 days with him maybe 2 months ago at his house, and I'm telling you, I felt like a child around him when it comes to sales, when it comes to recognizing patterns. Anyway, what he taught me that day, so many things, but something that really set with me and it made me realize like sometimes you don't know the patterns that you do until someone says, hey, this is this. Well, he told me something that changed everything and really kind of put it in perspective is when you're speaking, you want to go from like a superior mindset, an equal mindset, inferior mindset. You want to live in the equal, right? But there's times that you want to dominate. You need to have authority. But then there's a lot of times that or sometimes you want to be inferior. And it's kind of like what you just said. And I've taken that and I've realized what I do is when I'm learning something or I'm being mentored, I try to live as much as I can in the inferior mindset, which is humility and saying, you know what? I don't know anything. Because if you go into thinking that way, it's amazing the things that open up. And if you don't challenge them with their beliefs and you just listen to them and take it in as an inferior, I think it speeds things along. And it just it resonated me what you were saying because I've been focusing on that in the past 6 weeks.
Yeah, I believe you can still be a humble leader. Like you can still
Yes.
lead, but without arrogance, right? And so we're all learning, and we need our teams to make us successful. Reminds me of, I don't know who said it. Maybe it was Steve Jobs. It gets often quoted like, I'm not hiring people. I hire people who are smarter than me, right? Basically to that point. And so the leader is not above. And I know the term servant leadership gets thrown around a lot. Everybody wants to be a servant leader. Few people are. What does it
Yeah.
mean to be a servant leader, right? Really listening to your team and what they have to say. And I think it's the mindset, coming with a mindset of being willing to listen and to learn and see things that you don't see. When you gave that example of this gopher, right? This CEO realized, well, this guy knows what's going on in my organization, which also I've realized working with a lot of Fortune 500 leaders. Once you are at the top, nobody tells you the truth anymore in your organization, or
Yeah.
hardly anybody, right? You want to hear the truth, but what you get is political jargon, because everybody still wants to look good. But the real crap that's happening that you want to hear about, you go, oh, who's going to tell me what's really happening there? Like where things fall apart that I need to know. And I think, wanting to know that and knowing that this is the dynamic, it would change the dynamic between middle management and senior management or top leadership.
100%. And I think sometimes that can really be attributed to the fault of the leader, in my opinion. Because think about it, if you create a safe space, then people are going to be, and that's a culture thing, in my opinion. That leader is creating a culture of why are they not talking to me about what's really happening? It may not be that they feel safe, that it's not going to be heard. And that's what I love about the 7 Habits. I mean, I refer to this book all the time, but I mean, habit 5 was seek first to understand. And I think and you notice this, I think about this all the time after reading this book, but just think about the next conversation you have or you watch a leader have. How many questions is he asking? And how many of those questions that he asked, does he truly listen to the response? And if that person doesn't feel heard, they're not going to tell you.
Yeah. And then it comes back to the point we made earlier, right? You set the tone of what happens in your
Yeah.
organization. There was a time when it was posh to have an open door policy, right? You
Yeah.
remember that? I mean, this was like
Yeah.
20, 30 years ago, what have you.
Yeah.
And it was the signal that, oh, this is a really cool leader. He has an open door. Everybody can come in and talk to them. And I met this coach who said, like, that's BS. Like, open door policy, you're still sitting in your little Eiffel Tower asking people to come to you. Like a real humble leader would actually go and walk, right, down the cubicle lines and what have you to make connection. Like, how do you really signal to me? Again, that's why I asked in the beginning, what are the signals of a great leader, right? Is the leader asking, like you said, are they asking questions, and are they actually waiting to hear the answer, or are they having answers in their head already and they want to just have affirmation of what they already believe?
That's 100%. I think a good leader is a good listener. I mean, some of my mentors that I've had in the past, a few have been, I would say, decent listeners because it's hard to listen. It's
Hmm.
hard to really. It's easy to listen. It's hard to understand. That's what I think.
So we talked about leadership. Now, some of this will apply across the board, corporate leadership or being a business owner, but being a business owner is distinctly different. I think we can agree. And
Mhm.
you help these entrepreneurs that want to start a business. What does it take?
Oof. It takes most of the guys that I work with are not starting a business because it's so hard. I mean, it's hard for these guys. I mean, it's not that I wouldn't help someone starting a business, but really, you got to prove yourself. You got to prove yourself that you can get to 1 million. And a lot of that is going to be on your own. You're going to have some mentors, but when you're small and you're trying to get to 1 million, that first million is tough. It's so hard. It takes so much grit, and you cannot give up. And then this day and age, some of these young guys, they think they're going to work 40 hours a week or less and have a business. You better be prepared to work 90 hours a week. And everybody talks about this life balance. I just not a big I mean, balance is the moment. Sometimes it's the week. It's the like if you're starting out a business thinking that you're going to have balance and you're going to change your life because you don't like being underneath somebody's leadership, good luck, because I don't think you're going to make it. Right? I just don't think too many businesses fail. 80% or whatever it is in 3 years. So to me, it's like for me to really work with somebody, they really need to be at least 3 years, prove that you can do it, because I'm not here to babysit you. This is all on you. That first million is all on you. And not that I won't give advice, but I think that you really need to prove it to yourself that you can do it. And too many people like to rely on everybody else, and they, poor me, or this one coach is going to change everything. At that level, there's going to read a book. You go on YouTube, go through some webinars. But whenever you want to get one-on-one training at that level, I think it's really just, you just got to expect that, hey, put that weight on your shoulders and be willing to carry it for 3 to 5 years and be willing to put the work in. And I think too many people today, they promise these lights and shiny things and they're going to be fine. It's work. I know you know that. It's work. If you talk to anybody that's successful, it's been a nightmare to get to this point.
Yeah, they say overnight success is created over 10 years, right?
Yes. Yeah. So I think that grit and, again, self-discipline, all the things that we mentioned, but I think you have to prove it to yourself that you want it, and only you can decide that. No one else is going to hold your hand. And if they do, you're going to fall apart when it gets tough.
So I'm curious, as we close, like, what's one thing that you want to tell our audience before we close? But I would also be interested in hearing, what's the inflection point at which people should reach out to you?
Well, I have two things going right now that I think provide immediate ROI, and that's clarity. For some reason, I think it's just a natural gift and something that I've learned over 30 years. I have this innate ability to cut through the noise and bring you clarity. And what I've noticed over even the past 8 months is most people are struggling with clarity. They have so much coming their way. At the end of the week, they don't even know if they had a good week or not. So I do a clarity challenge. It's a 3-day challenge where I spend 1 hour a day with you, and we just go through, and it's crazy what we get to. I just had a call yesterday, and this lady was all over the place trying to figure out, and she's highly skilled, she's very successful, and she's still struggling with clarity. At the first call, we had clarity on where she was going. So I have a 3-day clarity challenge. And then the other thing I'm big on is goals. I have a system I created called the Bigs. And every Monday at 11 o'clock, I have a Bigs call. So starting Monday, we're going through an 8-week challenge where I'm helping them come up with their number one big goal for 2026. I feel like you should only have one goal that drives everything. And so, and then we break it down into 52 weeks, a dashboard, kind of like what a lot of people do. But this is a little unique in the fact that we really try to stay streamlined. And this goal, you have 80 to 90% of your week is chaos. You carve out 10% or so of your week to focus on this one goal for the year. So it's a unique system that I've developed over time. So those are the two things that I am big on: is clarity, decision making. I have a yes, no filter. I'm a big believer in, like, yes, no, yes brings power and no brings clarity. So going through these clarity audits that I have really seem to bring a lot of people clarity, and then setting some one goal for the year.
Perfect. Now we're gonna drop some links in the description box. Is there any place that you want to mention here, like where people can find you?
They can go to Instagram is probably the best place right now. I do have a website that should be, I'm revamping it, but Instagram is Jeff Kaulbars, or my website's jeffkaulbars.com.
So, well, thank you. It was great to have you on the show.
I enjoyed talking to you. I liked some of your insight. It was really great.